Hello. Hello, Chris. Hello, Asaf.
Hey guys,
Hello, everybody.
hello.
Asaf, how's the runny nose?
It's I took something that will allow me to not blow my nose while we are hanging out here, and hopefully it works. Yeah.
Okay, I hope you're well. My son
It's very
also.
weird. It's very weird. I never used to. I never ever had like these allergies or anything in my life. All of a sudden, this spring comes, and I mean, I'm not even sure that's the reason, but it seems to be like most cases, most
Off
chances.
camera, if you have the ability, if you take tissue and just kind of put it in each nostril and can tilt your head back, then you don't have to
I
constantly
used to
be
fall
blowing
asleep
in
like
the air.
that with just like a couple
Yeah,
like right in here. Just
Uh, that sounds attractive. All
it's
right,
not very
let's.
attractive. Welcome everybody to the Great Transition, where normal people talk about the spiritual world, talk about the reality beyond time, space, and motion. We are in such a unique time. We went from, the client. Remember Greta? Remember her? The world is coming to an end because of climate. If we don't fix things, in an instant, the world's going to die because of climate. And then came COVID, and now there's a war, and we've been talking about what could be next with food. Food crisis as well. And we are here at the Great Transition looking at this from inside the system. We're all people who have a climate around us who had COVID. Sav, you had COVID, right?
I did
I'm
have
s- I'm s-
COVID,
I'm still a
and
COVID
Chris?
virgin.
Really? You didn't get COVID? I got it twice.
I
you
don't leave
got
the
it
And
house. I
twice.
don't leave the house.
Well,
oh,
Chris,
yeah,
just you wait.
okay. And now we're dealing with inflation and the war, and we have friends in both Russia and the Ukraine. It's close to home. So we're very boots on the ground kind of people, real life, and also as students of a Kabbalist looking at the world through this other lens, through this very special lens where you like flip the embroidery over and see the connections behind what's going on. And that's what we're here to do, is talk about what is that big picture and not be stuck in tiny details, but understand what is the transformation that's happening. If you went on the COVID journey with us, we talked about many things that we could see in the transformation of humanity towards this new spiritual degree that humanity is inevitably headed towards. So, guys, I remember kind of where I think I always had some kind of spiritual inclination as a youth, as a little guy,
You
but
did,
I
didn't you?
did, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
But I remember a, but you just don't know what you don't know. I didn't
Hmm.
know anything really existed. I grew up in the suburbs, but there was a time I was probably 19 years old. I had ran into a childhood friend. We were at some concert. There was probably psychedelic adventures going on there. And we were the next day at his house. And I can still remember seeing this book on his couch. It was a book called Autobiography of a Yogi. I was probably, I think, like I said, 19 years old, by a guy named Yogananda. It totally blew my mind. I was a normal kid. I went to synagogue on the holidays. We had Passover at the house, whatever. I knew a little bit. I probably saw Hari Krishnas on the street when we visited my aunt in Los Angeles. But in general, I didn't know about all, like someone would live like some kind of spiritual life or something like that. I just didn't know. I opened up this book, and it really kind of blew my mind at the time as a suburban kid. He's talking about, he met one yogi who was living with a tiger for all these years. He met another yogi. Chris, you're nodding like you know the book. You know
No,
it? You heard of it?
no. But I know. I get.
Okay.
I get the. I'm going with the emotions. I
Okay,
identify
so
with them.
he met another yogi who was living in a cave for 20 years and hadn't eaten. Another one he saw somewhere, and then he took a train, and then that guy appeared in the place where he took a train to, like who somehow moved, and it was um, it
Sandra
really,
here says she knows the book. Yeah.
yeah. So this book kind of changed my trajectory a little bit as a young person, because I didn't even know that people could. It was obviously before the internet. I'm almost 70 years old, so this was a long time ago. So,
Stop.
but no, but anyway, there was no internet, there was
Uh,
no cell phones. Okay,
mhm.
so
Back in the
information,
day.
yeah,
Yeah.
information didn't travel so fast.
Mhm.
To find out that there was this other kind, that people lived in a different way, was totally mind blowing to me. He was a unique person. And today there's no shortage of systems. You can go online and find 50 million views on YouTube for some sound. Listen to this binaural beat and it's going to help you clear out your negative energy. And it's got like 50 million listens there. So there's no shortage of methods and systems that a lot of people have tried, experimented with. Today, though, we see that this kind of as if spiritual, or even like the yogi who had some thing that he was doing, it's humanity needs something so critically, some method, some remedy so crucially, and that all of those other things that kind of aren't able to um, heal this huge, like across the globe, like something
That
that
is
can,
so the word, man. That is so the word.
which,
Healing.
Heal,
This is
yeah.
Oh man, this
so
is like the one thing. Who's doing that? Who is anyone trying to do that?
I
Are we
think a lot
trying
of
to do
people,
that?
I think, Yogananda students, I am imagining that they are trying to do it. And I think that people
Oh
who
no, no,
are,
but who's trying to do it on a global scale, on a human society scale? Like who's, you know what I mean? It's not on the agenda, on the
Changing the fabric of
mainstream
society through these kinds
agenda.
of healing. That's what you mean? Because you have this guy who came on Rogan the other day and he was
You
talking
know,
about
yeah.
helping people, right?
I
no,
mean, I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
I
Go
think
ahead.
there are people who are trying, or at least have this inclination. But the thing is that we are so weak. Humans, people are so weak regarding our susceptibility towards influence, with fashion, with anything. We are so, by nature, by design, by software, we are created in a way that our opinions are so easily swayed. And that is something that's super unique, and that lends itself to understanding uh, the value of the wisdom of Kabbalah, which means to receive. I mean, we just want to receive pleasure all the time. We're now the first generation where
So,
this
so
wisdom,
when you say weak, just to clarify, so when you say weak, your focus is on,
I'm saying you go outside. I'm saying you go
yeah,
outside and you see someone who has sneakers that you want, and you think
right,
about that now, like before you go to bed, or like when you're reading
okay,
your kid a bedtime story.
Hmm.
You see, we are just
okay,
so
okay. So
we're just so
susceptible
weak.
and malleable by social influence is what you mean by weak.
Completely,
Hmm.
completely. And it doesn't matter if you covet someone else's wheatgrass seeds or apple tree. It doesn't matter if you're natural and you covet. It doesn't mean you have to covet Botox. It can be anything, but just the nature of who we are. We, even spirituality, we see something that if we're inclined that way, we want it, and our opinions will change in an instant. So now it's a special, special generation that we find ourselves in, where the wisdom of Kabbalah is being revealed as something that's necessary, explaining how humanity can organize itself and influence itself. The most powerful thing that we can do, because of that truth that we are so weak and susceptible, is to advertise to each other love and give a good example, and and the wisdom of Kabbalah explains how we organize ourselves, say 10 people or so in a certain kind of a group, who are all influencing each other in a good way, and another 10 influence themselves. And now you have these two as if cells in humanity, and those two cells arrange themselves to form an organ, for example. And then you have like maybe a couple thousand people here and another couple thousand people, and those different organs come together to create organ systems. And then you have this body of humanity that's all naturally organizing itself and advertising to itself love. And because of our nature of being so susceptible, it spreads through the whole system. So we're very, very lucky that we found this method, and we're going to go through this process of understanding what's going on in the world, but not from what we see on the news. We're going to look at the headlines, but talk about it in relation to what we can actually do in order to make this shift that humanity's going through towards this something we don't even know maybe what it is.
We should come back to
But
that
this
susceptible thing. That there's a lot that we can. It's very
Yeah, if
relevant.
you
We
go
should talk
down the
about it.
rabbit
Yeah.
hole, if you go down this rabbit hole of how we influence each other, then even in traditional science, there's already so much information showing how much we influence each other without noticing. It's happening all the time. Our behaviors, our norms, they're spreading to people you don't even know. Like not just your friends or your friends' friends, even your friends' friends are influenced by stuff that you think. It's crazy. Science is showing that. Anyway,
Okay, so let's
yeah.
get into what's going on today. Uh, Ukraine and Russia supply. There's a war. Everyone knows supply about 25% of the world's wheat. Okay,
Mhm.
a disruption in the export and the production of that threatens food security for the most vulnerable places first, parts of Africa, the Middle East, Asia, even like the
I
UK,
think
who
it's already
imports.
hurting these
Yeah,
places. Yeah.
definitely.
Mhm.
Um, it'll affect everyone, but there's certain places like Yemen, for example, that relies on import of food, or they will just starve to death. They won't
Mhm.
have it. Okay. Ukraine, when it exports what it has, the wheat and other products there, it goes through the Black Sea. All of those ports are now controlled by Russia. So it can't, thanks. Okay, that's Ukraine. And I guess the greener it is, the more wheat production it is. Is that what we're looking at?
So yeah, let me just yeah, there you go. So a hectare, I had to look it up. A hectare is 1,000 is 10,000 square meters. So the white is like a lower amount, but it doesn't mean nothing. So it's basically the entire country is serving this wheat
Okay.
production.
So
Yeah.
it goes when it's exported, it
Wow.
goes through that water in the bottom there. And the issue
Uh-huh.
is that Russia's controlling the ports in the bottom there, so it's very dangerous. Probably don't permit boats to go through there. Also, so that's from Ukraine. Also, Russia.
This is Russia. Yeah, I was ready for you.
Okay, so yeah, there you go. Okay, so Ukraine would be to the left, and then Russia is to the right. Can you
Average
put your mouse on the
production
border between Russia and
72.8
Ukraine?
million tons.
Wow, that's a lot. Can you just show where the border between Ukraine and Russia is, right over in that
I think,
left
well,
area?
you can't
Yeah, there you
really,
go.
it's not really that
Okay, so
great,
it's
but yeah, you can
very,
see.
very okay. So in addition to wheat,
Yeah.
25% of the world's wheat coming from that area. Those two countries produce like 75% of the sunflower oil, which is used for cooking. 90% of India's sunflower oil comes from Russia. Okay, so 90%. So affluent countries like the United States uh, don't really rely on these kind of imports that much. The United States produces food and can handle it, although prices will go up. But struggling economies um, will have a very hard time now, and some people will could starve if things don't change. Sudan, Nigeria. Okay, that's interesting. Sudan and Nigeria, Yemen, their lives are affected by a war between Russia and
Like in a
Ukraine.
direct way. In a direct way, even though they have no side in the war, like no part, no active part in the war.
Right, right.
Right.
And so now here's also something interesting and kind of an aside, and this may lead into kind of looking at the bigger picture, which is what we all love to do here. Um, Sugar is not considered a luxury; it's considered a staple. Okay,
Oh,
Right.
okay.
yeah, okay. So like
Hmm.
when this food aid comes to Yemen, for example, they bring sugar, and also Egypt is importing wheat is a big importer of wheat. Okay, so maybe we think to ourselves like in the same way that when COVID came, there were things that started to leave out of the economy. We're like, do we really need this? Was this really useful? Do we need to sit in traffic? Does everyone need to go on the highway
Oh,
every
right,
morning? So,
right,
like,
right,
does
right.
everyone need so much sugar and
Yeah,
so
it's
much
like
wheat everywhere?
COVID came and like immediately undermined like our whole lifestyle. It's like it put a question mark. Do you really need that before everything that we used to
It honestly
do
seems like that was
and
a
take for
long time
granted?
ago. It seems like COVID was like a different.
Yeah, yeah, and we got used to some of, I mean, millions of people resigned from their jobs and didn't come back. A lot of people just
Do
moved
I
to working
need
from home.
Yeah, do I need to leave
But
my kids at home? A person would say, do I need to leave my kids at home all day, every day, and pay for childcare so that I can sit at a desk all day for 30
and do we need to
years?
travel so much? And do we need to commute instead of, wasting our life in the car instead of doing something
Right.
more
So on
effective?
the one hand, on the surface, it looks like, okay, well, there's less wheat going around. On the other
Mhm.
hand, it's like, and I know you Israelis love your bomb bombs or bam bams or whatever you call them, but on the
Hey,
other
Bamba,
hand,
corn,
I
by the
knew this
bamba.
way,
was going to
too.
get
It's
personal if
corn.
I brought up the Bamas. You guys are such
Yeah.
spiritual and deep people, but you
Bamba,
also have
bamba,
this
bamba.
like you talk about some of these like simple dumb things and you get so defensive.
Uh-huh.
So, the bomb. Hey, hey, don't touch the bomb bombs.
Did I say a word about a Twinkie?
But you walk
Yeah,
into the supermarket in the U.S., for example, and there's floor to ceiling breakfast cereals. Is
right.
that if there's a shortage of wheat, maybe 20% of the world's protein comes from wheat. Okay. Um, but it needs to be imported. And, let me tell you one more story before, and I don't need to take up so much time here, but I remember a trip I took to Jamaica once, and I saw at Jamaica, the soil is black. You drop a seed, it's like a tree will be there when you return in the evening. Everything in Jamaica is just, it's the
Island
air is,
boy.
yeah, the air is humid, it's
Mm.
wet, the soil is so rich. Um, but I saw locals like standing at these little stands, like selling canned fruits
Mm,
and canned beans
mm,
and
that
stuff that had
hurts.
to be
The
grew, maybe it was
the
grown there,
dissonance.
canned
Yeah.
somewhere else and brought back, when you can just pull a mango off a tree or a coconut off a tree anywhere, or
Mm.
grow anything everywhere. But the economy was set up, obviously someone would get rich to sell canned veg, so you get a population to eat canned fruits and vegetables instead of things that grow abundantly.
Well,
uh,
growing things doesn't necessarily make money for corporations who need to make money.
Right.
So
Come on.
you can't get involved, you know, in that. Yeah,
Okay, so there may be something to look at here. That all of these changes, if we're not talking now, specifically now, we're not speaking about the horrible situation of being in a war. We're kind of looking at it in a more sterile way from outside, looking at the picture. We can't at the same time have the total emotional conversation that this deserves, and also look at these things in a macro way. So let's kind of look at it in the macro way, um, because it would be
I think in a macro way, it's interesting. It's fascinating that this interdependent state of human society is now beginning to, and it's just the beginning. It's beginning to harm, threaten, touch our food infrastructure. It's very, very interesting because food, where first of all, it is the most basic thing that we need to stay alive. You can live for a while, maybe even a very long time without having sex, without even having a shelter. You can somehow figure it out if you don't have a regular shelter. Food, there's only a very set amount of time that your body can survive without it. And so it's the most basic thing that we all need in order to do anything beyond that. And this is now being threatened or shaken. And that's just like with COVID. when we were used to going to work every day or doing all kinds of things that we took for granted, that we took as obvious, and they were questioned by COVID, and the world took a little bit of a spin, a little bit of a shape shifting towards more digital, more virtual. Okay, nothing, it's not hugely dramatic, for some people more, some people less, but it took some sort of a, it put a dent into our or previous lifestyle. Now, if we're going to see some changes in the way we produce food, consume food, advertise food, think about food, that is very interesting, because that there too, while we're taking things for granted, yeah, there's food, companies make it, we go to the supermarket and then we have all of these things we want to buy. We pay money for them. We have no idea how they were exactly grown and prepared and, packaged for us, but we just eat them. That whole lifestyle of modern society, the way we consume food, produce food, distribute food, is it's a big question whether this will be the way that we will continue to engage with food, with our food, in the future.
Why? Because we don't want to be
uh,
dependent on this fragile system.
well,
Why are we?
I would first ask, um bring up like the question, how are we happy with how our food, with COVID, right? We're doing this parallel here, right? With COVID, we got used to the idea before COVID that you got to go to work, commute for 2 hours a day or something, sit in an office, don't not be with your wife and kids, or whatever. And that, I'm not saying it changed completely, but it has been shaken. That idea, that idea of modern society has been shaken, and now we're thinking differently. People are beginning to think differently, companies are beginning to think differently. Is it possible that we are facing a completely global revolution, major revolution in food production, food consumption? And if you think about how our food is right now being produced and consumed, and the motives behind how we produce our food, then you really gotta think about this.
The
You know
motives
that
behind the food?
Yeah, because the
How'd you get to
companies
that?
that make your food that you're eating, they aren't putting your health and well-being
No,
as a
no
top
question.
priority.
There's no question there.
Obviously,
Okay,
obviously,
okay.
the food that we're eating, most of it, I'm talking Western society, modern human society, most places, right? You go to the supermarket, most of the stuff that you can buy is designed first and foremost to make profit. And health and well-being, what's actually good for you, is very far from the priority of the food manufacturers. And so that makes you think. This is something that we know. There's, you can find a lot of documentaries about this on Netflix or wherever, about how our food is being produced. I'm not even talking about the whole our attitude to animal breeding and slaughtering animals and all that. Put that aside for a second. That's another whole topic, of
That's a
course.
whole
But
new
just
thing. Yeah.
that's a whole nother venue. But what we're doing to ourselves, in the way we think about all of humanity, as a if this was a little family, and you had to, humanity is like your little family, and you have to produce the food for them, would you go and, you know produce the best food that they can eat for their health and well-being, and to make them satiated, happy, and healthy? Or would you compromise that in favor of making more profit?
Right. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
now, and the levels that it gets to are insane. If you start researching what's happening with our food, what we're actually eating, and what companies are doing,
You very
it's
quickly want to
it's
forget. You
shocking.
very quickly don't want to remember what you just saw.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
When it
it's
when
everywhere.
there's if you look at like shredded cheese or ice cream and stuff like that, sometimes it says cellulose gum on it.
Hmm.
Mm.
I just looking at it now. It's added to ice creams and dairy products to give it a creamier texture. You can use cornstarch, but that's a little more expensive. You can also use uh, shrimp,
Cellulose, isn't that basically wood?
wood dust. Yeah, wood pulp.
Nice.
I, wood pulp.
Nice.
I remember a crazy thing I read about. I don't remember exactly the name of the
There's
company and
another
when
issue with like
exactly,
ascorbic acid
but
or something too, right?
the acid is another thing. Yeah, but the how do you call it? Wood pulp? Is this
Yeah,
how how do you say it like in Hebrew? Nesoret. It's like, is that what it is? Wood pulp?
like the dust from wood being cooked.
Sawdust.
Yeah,
Sawdust. There
sawdust.
Sawdust.
we go, sawdust. So there, I can't remember the name of the company and exactly when it was. I think in the 90s, something like that. But there was a company that for years, I think, they were producing like some sort of a snack thingy. I don't know, like sesame seeds or some whatever, like a snack thing. And they just figured out that, you know what, it's a lot more, it's a lot more profitable to just replace some of the actual food ingredients, which were already like not the most healthier, with sawdust.
Wait, it's like the
And
opposite. It's like the opposite of what
and
you do with your kid. You like sneak in some fruits and vegetables, in his sweet thing, so he doesn't know he's eating. It's like the
exactly
opposite. It's the complete opposite.
that exactly. So
So if you look,
with your kid, you're trying to make sure they're healthy, even if it's not the most tastiest thing. With the person you're trying to sell to, you're gonna go, okay, I'm gonna try to make as much profit as I can, even if I'm gonna make you eat sawdust. They replaced that company replaced, I think, up to 15% of each of these
yeah, but
snacks
if
was
it's not if it's
sawdust.
not unhealthy, is it really that bad?
It is unhealthy.
Oh, okay. Why is it
But
unhealthy to eat sawdust? It's just a
How
tree.
long? How long were they doing that for? How long did they get away
they
with
did
that?
it.
Or are they
They
still
did it
doing
for a
it?
while. Somehow, someone was on to that. I can't remember, but we can look it up.
No, but there's another one.
But
There, another one was good. I think it was ascorbic acid or something where it's like where it makes you thirsty. Like if you're drinking it, then it just makes you want more
oh
of it
right,
or
it
something.
I someone told me about that. It's in Hebrew. It's called chumza zachatit. Zachatit is
Zachatit.
the kind of it, and chumza means acid. It's a kind of acid. I can't remember how it's called in English. Anyway, but that thing also, yeah, it's something that I think it's in Coca-Cola and in every other Fanta or whatever, all of those kind of pop sodas, seltzers, whatever. In many of them, there's this ingredient, this kind of acid, and its whole job is just to make you thirsty. So the idea is, so you could create the same drink with the same flavor and not have this acid in it, but then people would want to drink less. Why are you so thirsty when you drink Coca-Cola? You're not satiated. You don't feel the same like when you drink a cup of water. Why is that? Because part of it is because that's there. So you get, so
So
when
wait, what
I
is it? What is it?
so it's a kind of an acid that just makes you thirsty.
It's very
So
clever, very smart if you want to sell a lot of soda.
so the
You want to talk about
exactly.
intentions like that? All these stories just painted a huge picture of like this is
Mhm.
what we have at the moment. This is the town, but we started from war and we started from not getting the wheat and we started. So where are we going with this? Just got a lot in my head going right now. I'm not really sure
So
where to steer the ship. Okay.
the war highlights the interdependent system that we have and how it even touches and threatens our food distribution and food supply all over the world, which gets us to then question the way we produce, distribute, and consume food uh, more deeply. It's all about intentions, like you said. When I drink a cup of Coca-Cola, right?
Don't do that.
You can, when you do that, I almost no longer do that for years already. But anyway, when you do that, you can feel, you can really appreciate the evilness there. Why am I saying that? Because
Yeah.
it is tasty and addictive, and you're actually, you drink with
So
every
enjoyable
little,
though.
yeah, and with every little sip, what you're drinking is all that engineering that went into that drink, all of those intentions to make you addicted to this thing and thirsty after one cup, so you'll go and drink more and go get it more, and we'll
And
spend
pollute
70%
more
of the
even.
and
Yeah.
exactly. And so and that's the intention behind that drink. Kids today, they eat some of the stuff that kids want, and some parents get them, that is all kinds of stuff that if you look at it, the distance between, it's, what is it, silicon, all kinds of it's not even jelly, all kinds of things, that it's rubber, it's literally like all kinds of
Yeah.
rubber, it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
cancer, sugar coated cancer sticks or whatever it is. And the distance between that and something that grows as food is like, it's like the evolution of life there, what that thing, how that thing became something we eat. There's Anyway, the clearly, if we were to care about each other.
Yeah, someone has to lobby the government, the Food and Health Administration, to allow them to sell that as a food. Like if so, the whole system
The whole
Oh yeah,
system is,
yeah.
yeah.
That's all
corrupt.
supporting. It supports it all. So you're saying right now that we have this war where we're feeling a little bit of a pinch.
Well,
That's an opportunity.
if we're stepping back and looking at the big picture and seeing that something is going on the ground, and like we said, we're not emotionally getting into the details of the war, but if we look back and see that 25% of the world's wheat production is now going to be choked, or they won't be able, I mean, the 3 million people left Ukraine, and men between I think 19 and 60 are not allowed to leave because they would might have to fight. Like there's going to be a strain on the people who can go out into the field and plant and harvest
If
and
they can
transport
anyways, because
and
Russia supplies the
export
what do they supply? I forgot.
fertilizers.
Fertilizers. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a big, so if we step back and kind of see these the same way through COVID, if we step back and look at the transformations that were happening, we can now step back here and see the transformations. Does a country need to import so much sugar as a staple, for example? Or is there something that they could grow locally? Or is there another way to do it? How will food transform through all of this? Will we be transporting things such great distances? Will things be more local? Um,
Mhm.
there's a lot of changes that we could start to see
And
happening
we
through all
won't
this.
be able to do any of these changes. That's my main takeaway. Okay. If you were to ask, okay, so Kabbalistically, what's the main takeaway here? I would say this: it doesn't matter whether it's food, work, education, whatever area of life. If we want to actually make it good for us, healthy for us, we have to start caring about each other. And how can we do that? That needs to be the next question for humanity. The more we become interdependent, and through the COVID and through these wars and through the interdependence of food production and distribution and through all these phenomena, the more we see our interdependence, the more we're going to realize that we have to put in the agenda in a serious way. How can we begin to develop this sense of interconnection and mutual consideration, at least between us, that we're so lacking? And morals or ethics or preaching to each other about it is not going to work. We actually have to develop a new sensitivity within us. What's going to work is using our social nature, what you talked about in the beginning, in the intro. That's the thing that's going to work. That's the only thing that's going to work. Making it important for us through the regular means of advertising to each other, raising the importance of that will raise the sensitivity, that will change our world. And then we can consider how to create a new food system, produce it differently, actually put caring for each other as the goal and the priority for everything we do. So
So so we need
everything's
to
connected to that.
we need to advertise to each other. Then that's what you're saying.
Sure. Everything is advertising to each other. Isn't your brain advertising to to your cells what they need to do. Is in, information traveling and changing the direction of behavior of systems is advertising. In human society, we got used to the idea that advertising is someone that wants to take your money. But if you change, put a different spin on it, put a different intention on it, advertising becomes the way in which you heal the body, the way in which you radiate concern through the body. That's what's missing in order to create a new food system or economic system or anything.
That's interesting. Well, there is kind of a revolution in advertising. It's not really, not specifically advertising. And I know anyone who watched the show last time would have seen the thumbnail where we mentioned the AI influencers, which I think is now appropriate to bring up, because if you're saying that we need to, we're so social and we are so influenced by one another and we're so influenced by this and by that, and we're very weak. um, this new method of advertising to one another, and by using this, I guess, method of value, like transferring values from one to another, which I guess is kind of what advertising is: increasing the value of something that you see. It becomes important to you. So we've existed on for a long time with just the commercials. You turn on the TV, you see a commercial, and it's like kind of like this, like a 1 minute theatrical production kind of thing or something. They do their homework and they know exactly what to say. What we have now, which is, it's a recent, I'm going to show you guys. Look at this. What we have now is called AI influencers. First of all, let's talk about what an influencer is. Influencer, as we know it today, is someone who influences their followers. Whoever's following them, they know that they have influence over them. That's why it's called influencers, right? So who you see on Instagram, and maybe you go on Instagram, you look, okay, this person is wearing this, they're talking like this, they're going to this place. Anyone who's following them and watching what this person is doing is being influenced by them. So that was kind of this way for people on Instagram to make a lot of money, because businesses would say, hey, you have a lot of followers, let me pay you for you to talk well about this product, wear this product, do this and do that. So there's an interesting shift that's taken place. Let's look at this for a second. I'm going to show you. See if I can get up on this screen. Something. Oh, I got to change this. I got to find a better way to do this. Check this out. So who do you think these are? What do they look like to you? Looks like, you got
NFTs.
Magaloo. Oh, NFTs. We should do a thing about that.
I don't know. Everyone's just everything's an NFT today. I don't know.
I mean, but look at all the different. I mean, it looks like a Disney. It looks like I'm on like Disney.com or something. I mean, look at all these.
I actually didn't see this before. These are all the artificial intelligence influencers.
Yeah. Oh wait, let me pin this so every time you say something. Wait, pin. So yeah, these are all catered artificial. So they found that there was a niche that they could attack and say, hey, we could make some money. Let's just say money. We can make some money if we dress up the avatar this way with these kinds of eyes, wearing this. And look how many they've come up with. So each one of these appeals to a certain public. I mean, wow. Mm-hmm. I mean, the page just goes on and on. So this kind of started in 2009.
So basically, companies, instead of paying real people to be, boys and girls to be influencers on social media so they can advertise their products, promote their products. Now they're not, instead of paying these real influencers, they're creating robot influencers.
So ingenious. Coca-Cola is super labor intensive because you need to get sugar, you need to get ingredients, you need to mix it, bottle it, and ship it. Here, you could literally have the AI. There's some teenage boy, and exactly based on what he looks at Instagram and things like that, what he likes. You can make an influencer be exactly the attractive type that he likes and sell him
Right.
whatever. You have some,
Oh
you
boy.
have a guy, a man who likes cars and whatever, and you see the
Hmm.
kind of things he exactly likes. You can have an AI
Oh
influencer that's
boy.
exactly catered
Well,
to each and every customer
you're saying
to
AI
sell them.
influencer like, oh yeah, it's real easy. They should just accept whatever I'm throwing at them, and it turns out they are because before it became more of a kind of a popular trend to use this, they were a little bit they were a little bit fearful of okay once they realize this thing is once the public realizes that this is not an actual person, this is a computer generated image, made to influence you somehow. They actually grabbed onto it more and they received more followers. I don't know. They were at like 1 million followers before, and then it just kept growing and growing once they revealed that it was like a
So
robot,
s-
basically.
so so both people who knew they were following, I mean, people thought they were following a person, right?
Yeah.
Then they discovered that it's an AI influence. First of all, what are we talking about? So this is like photorealistic
I just want to
3D
show you a
renders
little,
of a.
just a small little clip. Like, okay, so $11 million.
Okay.
So this is kind of what the person would see,
Right.
right?
Okay. So that's an AI influencer, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. So it just shows
Okay.
them how they're like, how they're kind of like, built. I just want to show you how. Sorry for the loud clicking. So like, they put them on Instagram. You can see them on Instagram. Wow, 15 billion. Okay, so you see them on Instagram, and these are all just fake accounts. I mean, not fake accounts; they're real accounts, but it's very
Mm-hmm.
prevalent. So
So people know that they're
they
following
know,
an AI profile and they
yeah,
still follow it.
and they
They
like it.
don't they don't care.
But that's the thing about this
Right.
generation. I don't think we can understand it. That's
We opened
something
the
that
show by
they
that.
Hmm?
what?
We opened the show that everyone is so
Hmm.
easily influenced.
Right. It's like we were
Right.
built, we were constructed to be influenced, to influence one another and to be influenced by one another. So it's almost like if that's your given fact, I'm influenced by you and I can influence you. If that's a given fact, it's like we're just not using that correctly. It's like
Okay, okay.
Right.
we're
I
in
think
some special times. What?
the first knee jerk reaction is to be disgusted by this or pissed off by it. But it's
Hmm.
actually, it's no, the thing to do is to look and see what is the mechanism at work here that nature created. We can't change that, but how do you use it correctly? How do we influence each other correctly?
Mechanism. I like
Uh,
that. Yeah.
I would actually okay, maybe that's obvious to our listeners by now, but I have to kind of just point out the parallel thing that's happening. This is exactly a continuation of what we talked about before with regards to food. It's the exact same thing, but
Mhm.
on steroids. Because it's like if I'm, if Coca-Cola is designing a drink that its sole intention is to get me addicted and make money at the account of poisoning my my health and ruining my teeth, right? So the designers of the AI influencers, it's the exact same thing. I'm going to design, but on steroids. It's like rather than a drink, I'm going to design a role model for you
A role
that
model.
will that will shape your thoughts, your desires, your inclinations, and get you addicted and following it and poisoning your brain, your mental capacities in order to sell you a product. That's insane. It's like it's master of puppets type of
And
stuff
it's like
that is.
and you feel that the
Mhm.
people who are receiving this influence by these AI influencers, you know that they know that it's not real, and they know also that that has to be the sole purpose. It's not like this AI thing is going to be their friend. Also, interesting parallel. What?
Mhm.
Okay, wait a second. You got
No, no,
super
no.
excited.
Okay, no, go ahead. I think I'll remember this.
Okay, don't forget. Also, interesting parallel is not even if you were following a real person on Instagram. You're following them, you're seeing them. You're not thinking that they're your friend. You're not thinking like, what are you giving them by following? That person. What are you giving them? What are you getting from them? You're getting all these desires and wants and whatever. But what are you giving them? It's not like you even really see them as a real person anyway. So you juxtapose the AI and the real influencers, it's kind of very similar. You have the real influencers who you don't even really think, you can't talk with the AI influencer, you can't communicate with them the way that you would, a regular person, but you don't really do that either with the real influencer, an actual human being. It's not like you're thinking about their feelings. What did they what how did, how are they doing today? Did they have a difficult time? Are they struggling? Are they depressed? You're not asking those questions anyway, so it's almost like not really that big of a change. Okay, yeah, replace this real flesh and blood with something that I don't care about, with a computer generated thing that I also don't care about, but I still want them to influence me. It's like this mascot. It's like, oh, I love the.
The it's a very religious, it plays on our religious inclinations. That's kind of what's going on here. I mean, if you think about Hollywood, if you think about why do people follow celebrities, right? Like follow celebrities.
Right.
I'm following what's happening with whatever Brad Pitt. Is he still a thing? Maybe I'm a dinosaur, right? But whatever, like what does it mean that a person is following the life of another person and is interested in all of these like gossip tabloids, whatever, that about every little, oh, he wore this sunglasses, oh, he did that, she sneezed on a whatever. Why, what is this phenomenon, right? So people replace the interest in their own life and their own things with worshiping someone else's life, because maybe that can, plugging into, zombifying myself with regards to my own life and plugging into someone else's life and
Mm,
following that may allow me to feel as great and big and star-like and, godlike as that person is. With AI, now that so first of all, the fact that people can follow an AI character just as much as they can follow a Brad Pitt, that tells you how much there's nothing in Brad Pitt or whoever it is.
right. It's
It's
just this
just it's
vapid
just
image. Yeah.
exploitation of our inclinations to follow and worship, and not deal with our own life in self-improvement and self-growth and so on, and transfer all of that to following. In any case, didn't want to go to that in a big way. I What inspired me is when Seth said earlier that it's the social influence thing. Again, I can't remember, you said something specific that inspired that thought in me. But the AI, the whole thing with these algorithms, even the social media algorithms, those feeds that we're all like scrolling, you go on Facebook, you go on YouTube, those feeds are presenting information to you, suggestions of content to you, designed according to how these algorithms are studying you.
Hmm.
That is a very interesting propensity. It's really interesting property of AI, that if we used it with a purpose of healing society, with a purpose of connecting to each other, with the purpose of
Mm.
getting people to learn more about each other, how we're different, how we're similar, what makes us connected, what brings us together, how can I identify, sympathize with other
And
people, with
appealing to
other
each, and appeal, like, if,
you
if I know this
and
person is going to
appealing,
struggle hearing that
yes,
message, I could adapt this AI figure for them to listen to that message and receive it.
exactly. If you could just flip again, we're coming to the same point. The world stands like, you can make or break the world with the right or wrong
Right.
intention, and at the moment we're breaking it. And the
If I
more
could, yeah.
technology grows, the more the more quickly we are poisoning, polluting, and destroying the
But
fabric of human society, instead of healing it and connecting it
It's important
with the
to
same systems.
it's important to notice that every endeavor of humanity uh, leads at the end to this kind of exploitation. And some of it is very dramatic. And I know that some people here might be saying, no, no, it's not true. I'm a good person. The things I'm involved in are good. It doesn't mean that you're looking to, poison children with 70 grams of sugar. Um, but all of these things that we created technology, Einstein created a tech, some scientific uh, achievement, and it becomes a bomb. We understand how to
Right.
create. We have
Right.
enough. The technology exists to feed everyone, even with 25% less wheat. We know in the United States, 40% of our food goes to waste. We could do with 25% less. It's not an issue. And then again, we come up with a technology that can influence everyone, but what's it used for? To sell
Hmm.
crap,
Each
right? To
time we're
sell
just
some
learning more
product.
about ourselves, which is a good thing.
There's a concept in Kabbalah. How do it's gonna sound very weird if I translate it. But anyway, it's like the ego prepares the garment, and then the corrected vessel wears it. Let's put it like that. It's
Ooh.
complicated
Leave
to go
that
back
for
to the
everyone
source.
to
I
think
love that.
about.
But okay,
That's a
okay.
very nice image to try to figure out
I'll
what
just
that
leave it. I'll
means.
So
leave it at there. I'll leave it there. Yeah.
there's another phenomenon actually we can kind of launch off of this and talk about the next phenomenon. There is also a part of the population that's just like, I'm out. Like this is I've had enough. Just give
Hmm.
me. I don't want to be engaged in all of this. I see this mess, and I just want to be a little bit comfortable until I don't know, until it all changes, and then maybe I'll come out of the house, or I'll come out of my shell. There's a thing of like, well, Chris, you said, I haven't left the house. I mean, you're a very social person, a lot of friends, but still, even, so you can imagine someone else with even a different personality. But there is a reaction to all of this, which is just, I'm checking out.
There's a term for that. The term, goblin lifestyle, the goblin
Oh, we're talking
lifestyle.
about goblins.
Gus off. You didn't even
Finally,
notice that happening.
I didn't notice that was happening. Yeah. Okay. Let's go goblins.
I'm going to shoot
That's
to an image because I think
goblins.
that's important. I think it kind of wraps up. It kind of,
Go
it
for it.
kind of shows what we're. Let's get it full screened. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Actually, there was a girl who drew this, and she drew it, but there's a lot of emotion in there. There's a lot of emotion in this image here from the Guardian.
Yes,
What's her
there
name?
is. Yes, there is. Right.
I
Wait,
don't know.
wait.
Doesn't have her
Linger on it for
name.
just a second.
I
What
was looking
does
for the
the
lit name, but I can't see it.
what does the headline say?
Headlines: slobbing out and giving up. Why are so many people going goblin mode? Goblin
Right.
mode. So that's
Right.
that's kind of what they're talking about. Goblin. So here you have Skittles. You got not really caring what your place looks like because no one's coming over. There's a lot of different angles that Goblin mode can play off of. Whether it looks like this or whether you just don't care even what the food on your plate looks like. Before, you would like want the food to fall nicely on the plate to where you're looking at it and it's appealing to the eye and also to the mouth. But according to the internet, there's a lot of memes take on many different shapes and forms and interpretations. So there's not just 0 1. It's not just black or white. But a lot of people feel some kind of connection to this thing called goblin mode because it's something that they feel that they're experiencing. They're going through these changes and they're looking at themselves and they're saying, wow, look at like how I'm leaving my bed in this picture. Look at the food that I'm making. Look how I'm leaving the house. Before, I like wouldn't have left the house without, I don't know, doing something in my hair, putting on like, some
Hmm.
decent clothing, and a lot of people are noticing about themselves that that's not that they've changed. Something has changed. So it's interesting. So they wrote articles about it. It's all over the internet talking about goblin mode. Yeah.
So the Guardian, that's the where the article comes from. The Guardian is
Yeah.
saying this is becoming like an ideology
It's an
for
ideology.
people,
Yeah.
for
Yeah. I have a
especially
quote. I have a quote
younger
that
people,
might actually
especially
help.
younger people.
Especially younger people, yeah, because the older people, I think they're
Makes
kind of
sense.
they're already done. They're already kind of like they're just going with the flow
Mhm.
already. Nothing's really they're not going to experience a lot of changes in themselves. Though here's a quote from the Guardian. It
This
says,
is great. This is great stuff. I'll say
yeah,
in a
yeah.
second why.
Okay,
But
so here it is. Though they don't explicitly use the term goblin mode, videos expressing similar ideologies have been rising in popularity. My body is a garbage can with an expiration date, and I got no time for healthy shit. Sorry for the language. This is the term.
Mhm.
So that kind of sums up a little bit of the emotion behind what it is that they're experiencing.
My body's a
Right.
garbage can with an expiration date. That's why I think this is interesting. People are losing the need to conform to certain social norms on how to present themselves, and it's kind of like, why bother with that stuff,
Why
so
bother?
they're
Yeah.
kind of discovering that um that the way society wants me to be or something like that is not really me, and I need to look for
Hmm.
something else. And I think it's like an interesting intermediate stage of sorts, you know,
Explain.
um, because it's like tuning out, going off grid, tuning out of the rat race, tuning out of this constant kind of inertia driven sort of
Hmm.
pursuit that human beings are in.
Well,
And while it seems very, not aesthetic and just kind of like, what are they doing, they're just like, so they just become slobs, like, people are
it's
just
more
like,
than
I think that
slobs. It's
there's a
more than that.
deeper thing. Human
Yeah.
desire is taking a shift here.
Oh,
And
I want to
even though it,
contrast. Okay.
okay, go ahead, yeah,
Don't forget the
just
point.
go
I just
ahead.
want before you make the point. I want the audience to hear this. That I want to contrast it, contrast it with a trend that came before Goblin Mode, kind of right when COVID started happening and people were entering, this stage of like kind of stuck in their houses a lot. So they felt very productive. They wanted to show how they could make use of their time, and they called it cottage core. It's just kind of this general umbrella term
Mm,
for expressing what Instagram, what Twitter was, what was happening on there. People showing their homemaking skills, showing how I could produce, something nice out of things, while I'm at home and I'm using my time. Which now the shift is to something basically completely opposite. Like, why do I need that? Like you said, why do I need? I don't have those values. Those values kind of like disappeared. That's what you were saying earlier. That's what was
yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
and it's like, if you don't, the old school thinking is, if you don't conform to social values, you're not going to succeed in life. Well, what if I don't care about succeeding in this game of life that you guys
Which anyway, you've just
that you
told me for the
design?
last 50 minutes is just
Is
designed to
crap.
exploit me anyway.
Exactly.
I
That
need to go to work and get money so I can buy stuff made by someone who's just trying to exploit me. I'm
exactly.
out.
So
I'm out. I don't want to participate in
I'm
that.
out. Yeah.
that's why this phenomenon is cool, because it shows, it looks gross at face value, but it's actually very smart. It's like an educated decision. I mean, the people, it's something that says, I no longer identify with the goal of the current pursuit of man. Now, there's no higher goal yet, but kabbalistically speaking, this is what is happening to human desire en masse. The only thing that is evolving
Like,
behind
wait,
everything
do I
we're
need to drive in rush hour every single morning?
exactly,
Wait,
it's
Like,
the
do
same.
I need
bam,
to
this
keep up
thought
with
just
the
comes.
Joneses?
Yes, this desire just comes. Like, where does it come from? Why was there this change? It's interesting.
Yeah,
It just
and look
comes
at
out of
what
nowhere.
nature's doing. Look at what
Yeah.
nature's doing through COVID, through culture, through this kind of, younger people identifying themselves, this kind of goblin mode. Let's just go goblin. That is we are seeing human desire shapeshifting and changing and trying to find its next level of fulfillment. That is kind of like, that is what's happening behind the scenes. And the next stage of human fulfillment, the next stage of desire, is when we look for a goal that will bring us all fulfillment, that is beyond this rat race of, try to talk to younger people about, career and being like, I don't know, like succeeding in the financial world, or going for some big thing. I would bet that most of them don't feel such, urge to go and participate in that game. And what's missing still, though, is that we can achieve a higher pursuit towards fulfillment without being in this dog eat dog world. We can achieve a new level of fulfillment by connecting to each other
So
ultimately.
it's just a transition between what's the transition between I'm not fulfilled by those things that I was fulfilled by earlier, and so I'd rather just not be fulfilled by them. Like,
If
what
we
is
zoom
actually
out,
happening?
if we zoom, so let's not identify it exactly because there's just way too many details. But if we zoom out enough, we can begin to see how all of the transformations we're going through, from the climate, through
Hmm.
COVID, through the war, through the next thing, which will be the food crisis, and there will be others after. Nature is has plenty of things. Nature, creator, whatever word we're using, has many um, tricks, things to use and there's a transformation. You could say there is a great transition happening from leaving behind. We have developed now, and now we leave behind, um, like the wicked prepare it and the righteous will wear it, as Asaph said. We used all of our egos in order so that all of humanity can be connected to each other, so we can all learn about each other, so we can all share goods and services with each other and support each other. And then the ego, the wicked part, so to speak, of it kind of goes away now that the system is prepared, and we can fill it with good connections now that we developed ourselves into that organism. So stay tuned with us here as we talk about this. Write to us. We check the chats every week. And as we go through this transformation, we don't need to be frightened of all of the changes that we're seeing in the world. We need to start to understand the process that we find ourselves in the middle of, and how we, through advertising love and care towards each other, can affect the world in a good way and can hasten the good future that's coming for all of us. Thanks,
Right?
guys.
I would say amen, but we say l'chaim. Amen. So
We
I'll
will
say
be
that.
back. Okay, so we've been on a weird time shift. It was our time here in the US
Right.
changed. Maybe in other places did or did not. So as of next week, it will still be 2 p.m. Eastern, but some places in the world, your time may
I
be
think Israel gets
different.
back on regular time, so me and Asaf will be.
Yeah, for
I'll remind you.
if the time of this show has changed in the last 2 weeks, it's going back to what it was.
Right.
So
Thanks.
We will see you next Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, everyone. Big hug.
What am I? Learn what they know. Just a child, I learned by watching you. I need you to show me something good. Show me how. Can't do it without you. We're not waiting for something to happen. We determine what will happen. We're not waiting for something to happen. We determine